This season, we are going to do our discussion questions a little differently, I think. We will see how it goes, but I pitched the idea of pitching a PreCure season based on a specific idea each episode.
It could be a theme, it could be like the motif, you know? So like Kira, the motif was sweets, but the themes were more about feelings, so it could be either one of those ones, or it could just be like, you pick a thing from the real world, like soccer. Can you have a PreCure team that's all just one soccer team? I personally am worried we might not be able to come up with 40 plus specific themes, but we'll see how long we can keep this train going.
Absolutely, and I'm going to throw you a softball, because we've already done this one. Pitch me a PreCure season about bugs.
About bugs? So we're definitely going to have a praying mantis girl, I think. And we're definitely going to have a butterfly. Butterfly is probably either the main girl or the secret sixth cure. And then other bugs, we could try to explore ones that maybe people would find a little bit creepier, and maybe the idea is that we're trying to show how cool these animals can be and how diverse the ecosystem is.
You could have the mid-season cure, if it wasn't the butterfly, be a wasp who was like the evil PreCure on the bad guy team, and she switched sides.
Okay.
You could have a spider.
Absolutely. I think the other thing is, in terms of a theme, the most natural one that comes to mind when I think of people who would be on the side of bugs or insects is maybe the villains are in some way contributing to changes in the environment. You know, climate change style or over-factorization type of thing. They create lots of factories.
Over-industrialization.
Thank you, yes. And so I think that would be a natural theme that goes hand in hand with, like, preserving the ecosystems.
Absolutely. Like I kind of hinted at, we did do this one before in our 9-hour-long PreCure discussion where we covered Star Twinkle and Kira. But I really like that discussion, so if you're interested, go check that out. Essentially, I feel like the insect motif lends itself really well to exploration and wanting to learn new things as a theme. And so you have a main cure who's very enthusiastic about the world, even the parts of it that people are like, oh, that's yucky. She's like, no, it's so cool. Look at the way the water bear wiggles. I showed Joel a brittle sea star once, and he was like, I don't want to look at that anymore.
It was, yeah, I have tryptophobia sometimes, and then there's other things that give me the same reaction, but I haven't found the exact word for it.
The spinal shivers.
Yeah, so the brittle sea starfish.
Brittle sea star.
Brittle sea star.
Precious princess?
They kind of weird me out, but they're cool, you know? It's interesting that life kind of evolved that way.
Fun fact, if you go somewhere wet and you start picking up rocks, you will find things.
I think that's true of any rock that you pick up.
Yeah.
Even if what you find is more ground, but I guess you're just talking about critters specifically.
You'll find critters. And I mean, if you pick up a rock, say, in your backyard, you'll probably see a worm or a centipede, but you'll see more interesting critters if you go where there's water. The rocks up in the forest by the lake, where we live, for example, have lots of salamanders underneath them.
I see. Now, try not to info dump, because this is primarily a PreCure podcast, but what is your favorite bug?
Oh, that's so hard. Oh, man. I really like praying mantises. I have a soft spot for them. Can I give one good fact?
Sure.
The stereotype about praying mantids is that they eat each other's heads during mating. That only happens in captivity. In the wild, they do not do that. And the reason they do it in captivity, cover your ears if you don't want to hear gross words, but the male orgasms faster if he's in danger of dying. So he has performance anxiety, and the female bites his head off to make him
excited.
Finish.
Yeah, all right. See, now, I was thinking that you were just going to say the environment of being captured causes stress, which prohibits the act of creating baby mantid. So, but yeah, your way is good too. Very accurate.
I also really like moths. Do you have a favorite?
I really don't know if I could. I mean, butterflies have really pretty wings, so I think that would be kind of like my default answer.
Yeah. Oh, also the bald-faced hornet. 10 out of 10 top hornet.
Okay, yeah, some people like hornets.
That's been your discussion question. I like creatures, is the thing.
Yeah.
And that is why Kome is the greatest character in this season of PreCure.
Absolutely. So, here's the thing. You and I have talked a lot about, like, hypothetical seasons of PreCure, some seriously, some less seriously, and some of them on mic and some of them off mic. So if any of these if they sound familiar, I apologize. But what about a PreCure season that in some way involved mechs?
Oh my god, I love it. Okay, here's what I'm pitching. The fairy becomes the mech. And it's more, so you know how you've got different types of mechs, right? You've got the really huge, clunky, like Gundam-style mechs, and then you've got the mechs that are more, like, snug to the person. They're more suits of armor.
Yes.
So they're big, but they're still, like, person-shaped. I'm imagining that. The fairy wraps around the girl and becomes this suit of armor. And I think that one of the core themes of the show would be embracing new technology versus idolizing the past.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. I like it. So I think one of the girls would probably be some kind of like a social media influencer person. I mean, we kind of already have that with like Hinata from Healin' Good, and I think her name is Ran, maybe? But the third mystery girl who we haven't technically met yet, but has been in every episode. So someone who, you know, is on social media all the time and is tweeting and follows all of the big influencers on Instagram and that kind of thing. I also think that you would probably have one mech that was kind of tanky but slow, and maybe had like a really big windup to an attack, but if it lands, it would do impressive damage or whatever. And then you'd probably have another one that was like fast but would take lots of damage and maybe shot like lots of lasers. They could be like an energetic girl who kind of zips around, who, you know, she's just like, woo, I'm high on Pixie Sticks type of a character, that sort of a thing. And then I think that the main character would have some ability that allows her suit to somehow interact with the other ones. Maybe she has, like, a connect cable, and she can, like, connect her robot, her mech to another character's mech, and they can combine to create, like, a new one. And that's, like, a unique ability that only the pink has.
I love that. That's so cool. What do you envision the villains being like for this season? So
maybe like a... Maybe what they are is they're like, how do I say this? They're kind of like symbiotes that steal other people's technology and corrupt them.
Oh, that's cool too. I was just going to say boomers.
Like exploding zombies, you mean?
No, like old people.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
A quick aside here, not that we've ever done one of those on Care of the What Now before. I've worked so hard with our puppy on we don't bark at strangers, we don't bark at other dogs or bicycles or skateboards, and she does amazing. Like, we can go for a walk and she doesn't bark at anything, except for old people. I don't know why. She's never had a bad experience with an old person. I've trained her the same way on elderly people that I have on everything else, and we live in a complex full of them, so she's had plenty of exposure to elderly people. She just doesn't like them.
And she literally will, like, howl sometimes, even though that's not how Australian Shepherds usually bark.
She was carrying a stick once, and she was so happy, and an elderly man stopped and looked at her and went, oh, she's carrying her own stick, and she immediately dropped it and went,
Absolutely. What would their motivations be if they were just run-of-the-mill boomers?
They want everything to go back to the way it was when they were young. The world is changing too fast, and they don't believe that it should be.
I think you would want to juxtapose that against one of the characters having like a kindly elder relative, and they could be a little bit like, yeah, sometimes technology is a little confusing, but you know, it looks like it's helping you with school or something like that.
Yeah, you'd have the positive elderly figure who is embracing change, and then you'd have the villains who are opposed to change,
like violently opposed, that kind of thing. Yeah.
And that could have one of our favorite sad PreCure moments in it, where one of the girls might have to leave, and that is a change that you might have to embrace or avoid. So I like this idea for a season a lot. I do like your symbiote idea, though. Symbiotes are cool. And it's kind of a dark mirror of the PreCure having a symbiotic relationship with the fairy who becomes the armor.
Yeah, see? Look at that. Themes, motives,
Motifs.
plots. Also motives.
Yeah, sure.
Motifs. Symbolism.
Modus operandi. We're solving murder now.
Don't give away what my next PreCure pitch meeting
I would love a detective PreCure.
Stop. We're going to talk about this later. Stop.
Joke's on you. I'm going to pitch it for next week.
Okay, so I realize that some of my ideas are very similar to other seasons that we've had in PreCure, so I'm going to put this blanket statement out there. I'm comfortable potentially recycling ideas from other PreCure seasons if there's a little bit of a twist on them or there's some kind of a caveat. So, we've already had Maho, which is, about girls who do witch magic type stuff. In a similar vein, what if we had a PreCure season where the girls, the Cures, were into stage magic instead of wand magic?
I love that so much. You could have one of your ongoing themes be imagination.
Absolutely.
And believing.
Okay, yeah, I really like that. Are there different types of magic tricks, do you think? Like, I guess Now You See Me kind of did that. So we could have one girl who's like the hypnotist or like the clairvoyant, the psychic, and we could have another girl who's like the escape artist or something like that.
You've got illusions, you've got misdirection, you've got escape. There are so many. Okay, so when I was young, somebody said something about, haha, boys who do magic tricks are nerds. No woman is attracted to that. And I looked around and went, I'm attracted to that. And to this day, any man who shows me a magic trick, I'm like, wow, you're handsome.
Absolutely. Now, Kat, is this your card?
Oh my goodness, it is. This is getting too spicy for the podcast.
Hey guys, that was also my card too. I'm here. Hey Pete, thanks for joining us.
Pete, what's your favorite magic trick?
I think sawing someone in half is a pretty cool thing. Could you imagine if a PreCure character had an attack that did that, where they, like, temporarily split the bad guy in half, and the bad guy's like, oh no, my feet! But then, like, they were okay.
I love that. What if your Magician PreCure girls have a hat? This is the Buy Our Toys toy.
Okay.
And they can reach into the hat during fights and pull out something.
Oh my god.
And the level of their belief in themselves in that moment determines the strength of the thing they pull out.
Oh, okay. No, I really like that. So I like going with creativity and imagination as something to build up in PreCure, but I do wonder if that would feel a little bit too similar to Star Twinkle. But I like the kind of the sub theme of like being confident in yourself as like something that also unites all the different girls. I think one of their final attacks, I don't know if it would be an individual final attack or one of the group final attacks, but it would summon a bunch of mirrors and lights would bounce around and stuff like that, and it would look like there were multiple
Oh, that's so cool. You could have your shield cure have the mirrors.
Yes, absolutely.
That would be like her attack and her defense. I'm thinking this season would be a 2 cure season.
Okay.
With maybe a bonus third at the end.
The bonus cure could be like their assistant that shows up partway through the season.
Right. So see, I was thinking you've got the pink, right? The Genki energy. She loves stage magic. She's the big magician. And then you've got the blue, who's a little bit more subdued, and pink pulls her into this world and she ends up being the assistant.
Okay, I like that.
But, like, the bonus cure could be the rabbit that they've been pulling out of their hat this whole time, the fairy turned cure.
I like that. The fairy could be, like, a mythical creature, like it could be, like, a Pegasus or a Griffin or something like that as well.
Beautiful. What do you envision the villains of a season about belief being? Are they all atheists?
Wow, okay.
I'm not calling anyone out. My husband is an atheist. I just think it's funny that...
Yeah. There's certain stereotypes that exist that would kind of be funny to play off of in this segment. But, yeah, I guess they would be a little bit like... I think they'd be a bit like the bad guys in Smile, insofar as, like, they wouldn't really believe in dreams. Like, they'd be, like, people who tried to achieve something and failed. And now they think that... Why should anyone bother trying? Everyone's just going to end up unhappy anyways.
Oh no. Every villain team we come up with is just gonna be boomers. It's true that your life experiences shape your art in a way.
Now, it's time for our lead-in discussion.
Yes, sir.
And I've done the last two. So do you have a season that you would like to pitch? I have a backup plan, if you need me to.
Pitch me a season centered around compassion and caring for animals.
I mean, wouldn't they just be veterinarians at that point? Wait, did you just describe healing good?
But animals more than the planet?
More than people and the planet? Okay, let's see. Yeah, I think that you would need... Because, like, Star Twinkle, they go to the observatory a lot, and in Healin' Good, they hang out a lot getting the fruit gummy smoothies or whatever that are good for your body.
Maybe there's, like, a wildlife reserve?
That's what I was thinking, like a conservatory, or maybe, like, there's a zoo, and maybe it's, like, a really cool zoo. Maybe it's, like, one of the biggest in the world or whatever. And, you know, you could do the Manatsu's mom route, where the main Pink's mom, or maybe parents or grandparents, work as, like, the head director of the zoo or something like that. Yeah, and I think each episode would focus on a different animal, and maybe you wouldn't want every episode to be like, you know, oh, this animal's habitat is being damaged, but you could have some episodes that kind of touch on, like, yeah, this animal used to be much more widespread, and now its population is dwindling and that sort of thing. One of the bad guys could be a hunter. Maybe all of them could be hunters, but that's definitely what you could have for one of them, like some kind of, like, Craven who wants to, like, capture all of the animals or whatever and is very cruel to other people around them. As for the compassion element, I think you would want to go somewhere along the lines of kind of how it worked in Heartcatch, where the bad guys would, like, take control of the hearts of people and would... I don't know. Maybe they could be, like, selfishness, and they could, like, make people give in to their, like, greedy desires, and then the PreCure could help them learn that compassion is where it's at, and that helps you make friends and be successful and that sort of thing.
Okay, yeah, I really like that. One thing I was thinking for the bad guys, and this is 100% a Tokyo Mew Mew ripoff, but in Tokyo Mew Mew, they are each an endangered animal. That's where they get their animal ears from and their transformation. And the villains are aliens who don't care about, like, the earth and its animals. And
preserving them and stuff. Okay, yeah, I could totally get that. Absolutely.
The villains want to put humanity in a zoo, and the PreCure are like, zoos are good for conservation, but you shouldn't do it without a good purpose in mind. Maybe the villains don't care about the animals for their own sake. They just care about, like, I want those feathers for my hair. We don't get those feathers on my home planet.
Ha! Okay, so what if the aliens were actually, like, they liked the feathers of the peacock, and they liked the stripes of the tiger, the claws of the tiger, and what they were doing is they were building the ultimate life form, and, you know, that would be awesome.
Yeah, no, I really like that. And then you could have the ultimate life form be what the PreCure fight in the climax.
Absolutely.
So do you have any other thoughts, or do you want to move on to our actual episode, the meat?
I guess, what would be the best antithetical sort of character that you could have to compassion? Would it be a selfish character? Like, would you have one of the generals be someone who's taking advantage of everyone else in their life or something like that?
I think that's too obvious. I think I would go with apathy.
Okay.
Someone who just doesn't care because they just don't have the energy to or anything. And the PreCure could be like, no, caring about others is where we get our strength from.
Absolutely.
The strongest thing in the world is your heart trying to help someone else.
Mixing is the key to both soup and people.
But not animals and people. Then you get catgirl abominations.
Well, I mean, I think humans and animals can codepend on each other, but yes, I agree. No fusing of the human and animal DNA unless that's the future that you want.
Oh, man. I went in a cursed direction. I'm just going to move past that instead of bringing it out here.
Now, this week, we have a discussion question sent in from one of our lovely viewers. That one welder guy, the MVP of this podcast, suggested, and this premise might sound a little familiar because we were talking about a specific show that we all love very much, but pitch a PreCure season where they all work in a small town's local government. And, I think that's interesting.
I like that a lot. Okay, so first we have to decide, are each of the main cast from different departments, or are they all in the same department?
I think it would be more interesting to do a series where they're in different departments and they have different interests. And I think PreCure could do that, but it also seems really likely that because of the age of the girls, the main characters, they're probably all interns, and I assume that they're all working in the same place. And maybe the pink got the internship started a week earlier than the other two or something.
Okay, well, so I work in a government building, and I'm not going to go into like what level of government or whatever, but I will say,
if you revealed that, you'd have to kill us.
Exactly. I will say we have like 6 or 7 different programs in our one building, and so I think you could do a show where like the whole city government, the town is so small that it takes up one building and they all got internships on different floors or whatever.
Okay, yeah.
And the thing I like about that is that you could have whoever's interning at the city manager's office, the people in charge of like which programs get which funding, could be the mid-season cure. She could show up to people's things and be like, we're cutting your funding. You no longer have money to put grass in parks. And the pink would be like, oh no, parks need grass.
So basically a Yuriko from Tropical Rouge.
Exactly,
Okay.
yes.
Do you have any ideas for like what the themes of such a season would be? I mean, I guess
Community service.
Yeah, I was about to say, because this is heavily inspired by Parks and Recreation, it would be kind of community and working together and that sort of thing. Optimism in the face of
Challenges.
obesity? Yeah, challenges. No, I'm specifically talking about Parks and Rec. That's one of like the...
Yeah, absolutely. I really like the idea of having a season based around community service, and I think that it's pretty common in Japan to be oriented toward like, what can I do for others? They have a much more collectivist culture than we do. Our culture is very individualistic.
Sure.
So I think you could get some good stories out of that. Like, somebody is on a team and a citizen is like, I need help with this. And they're like, I want to help them. And their office could be like, that's not really what we do. And they're like, but we're here to serve the people, aren't we?
Yeah, okay, absolutely. I really, like, I made the comment about Yuriko, but I could see this easily having a lot of similar vibes to Tropical Rouge, just the way that we're talking about, the way we're pitching it.
What visual motif would you go for?
I will say, like, Oshina Town has a bunch of restaurants and it's Delicious Party PreCure, and the Star Twinkle Town has an observatory, so I think that it would only be natural for this season to also have, like, a really big park, and there'd be, like, an area with, like, a playset for kids, and it would be, like, a really impressive playset with, like, 4 levels, so this, like, multicolorful castle or whatever, but then there would also be statues and there'd be like a flower garden and that sort of thing.
There'd be like a really nice library. We're just describing the giant park in our town.
I mean, it's pretty nice. I think it would be even more fantastic though, because it's animated and you can do that. But yeah, that would be like the main central hub of the area, and if they ever meet with like outside like tourists, that would be kind of like a natural place for them to meet up.
I like that a lot.
Going back to your question about the visual motif, I'm not sure. Do you have any ideas?
So I'm thinking about other seasons, right? One of them is very heavily elemental, and we've got one where one of the visual motifs is like different card symbols. That's in Fresh, but each of the girls are like fruit themed.
Oh, yes.
So I think it could be kind of random. I like the idea of going with flowers visually, okay. So each of them is like a different flower, because when we all grow together, we create a beautiful garden.
Okay. I really like that. Yeah, I want the discussion topic to be a back and forth, but I'm really blanking.
Yeah, and like, not every season has things that make sense at first glance. So like, Go Princess, their transformation items and the MacGuffins they're collecting are keys. And you're like, keys, what does that have to do with being a princess? Well, being a princess is really more about chasing your dreams and the future, and the keys represent opening the door to the future. So what can we think of that is representative of trying to help others?
Well, I mean, I guess the red string in Japanese folklore is more about like love and fate, but I think that you could do like maybe ribbons that like tie people together, that sort of thing.
Oh,
they connect
love
us
that.
all.
Yeah.
So, I've been trying to come up with, because we're going to need to do like 40 plus discussion prompts or whatever. And so...
Isn't it great that we keep causing ourselves pain? Like, we chose to do this.
Yeah, absolutely. But like one thing I was thinking of is like, could you do a season that was themed around puzzles, like literal jigsaw puzzles? And I was like, I don't know if that would work, but you could have the thing that they get from defeating the bad guys be puzzle pieces, and they're trying to complete some picture.
I love that. And when they get the full picture, like either the PreCure giant lady comes out of it, or, oh, you know what would happen? Whoever the goddess figure is for this season would come out of the puzzle, and she would give them their new power-up.
Okay, I really like that.
Joel, do you have a discussion question for us this week?
I do, but before we get into this week's discussion question, as you all know from last episode, we got a suggestion from one of our fans to discuss a PreCure season in a small local government. And after James, that one welder guy, listened to the episode, he brought up further discussion questions.
Thanks, James!
So James was saying that community focus is great, but what about the sanitation department? And he suggested cure plate, cure paper, cure glass, or cure plastics, cure paper, cure glass. I went in a different direction for sanitation department, and so I was like, oh, what if we had cured poop or something? Or what if the problem they had to solve was a clog in the town's waste delivery system or something like that?
So that season that we proposed was all about community service, right? Yeah. So I really like the idea of an orange cure. I don't know why it would be orange, but I feel in my gut that sanitation is the orange cure's domain. But an orange cure who's really passionate about sanitation. Everyone's like, isn't that job kind of gross? And she's like, no, it's so important. We're keeping the city clean so everyone can enjoy it together.
Yeah, absolutely. So that was part of the discussion, and then my brain, a light bulb went off over my head like I was a cartoon character, and I went, oh, what about someone who's super into environmentalism, and she's one of the rare green cures? That'd be really cool. And I did put in parentheses, passionate but not like eco-terrorist, because my first thought was Poison Ivy, who takes it a little too far in the other direction. And James suggested, no, let her be an eco-terrorist.
Maybe she's the sixth ranger.
Yeah, absolutely.
What's the point of the city if we can't all enjoy it together as friends if you use plants to destroy all the people?
Absolutely.
Does the world have a purpose if people are not here to experience and enjoy it?
Yes, because dogs would still exist.
Hell yeah, dogs get to enjoy the world. If a tree falls in the forest, a dog is there to wag their tail.
Try to pick it up, but it's too big for them. They can't wrap their puppy mouths around it.
Gigi's new thing when we go on walks, I know you all listen to this podcast because you want to know about our dogs. Gigi has started trying to pick up small trees. Like, not even joking, like giant branches that have fallen down or like saplings that have blown over. She will try to pick them up and carry them away. And she's not a large dog. She's less than 30 pounds and she's like duffel bag sized. So she should not be trying to pick up trees.
Absolutely. So you asked for a discussion question, and I have one on our scratch pad that has been blanked out. I wrote it white text on a white background so you wouldn't be able to read it because I thought this would be a good secret surprise.
And I did not look at it because I am a good wife.
All right. Oh, I just realized what I'm imagining when I pitched this is something completely different than the second thought that I just had. And the second thought is you could do a crossover, or you could do it in the style of another show that you and I both know from our childhoods. But PreCure Secret Agents. Let them dress in suits. Let them have to work on, like, disguises and, like, infiltration and stuff like that. And, like, trying to find information in sneaky ways. And give them sunglasses, of course.
You know what I like about this?
What's that?
It has such great potential for... We've got this team of good guy spies, and then this counter team of bad guy spies. Like, I know that's Lupin Ranger versus Pat Ranger, but I'm obsessed with that idea.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, Lupin and Pat Ranger, it's like a team of robbers and like a team of like the police. But what you just said was like spy versus spy, it sounded like. So you'd have two different teams trying to infiltrate each other and that sort of thing. I really like that. I don't want to call it MacGuffin, but the thing that both teams are after is a vault that no one has ever been able to break into. And legend tells that the original legendary PreCure left something of great importance in there. And if the bad guys can have it, it'll help them take over the world. If the good guys can get it, it'll help them thwart the evil.
Absolutely. The henshin item is called the Disguise Compact. And they do their makeup, but there's also a bit in there where they've got like a magnifying glass and they look up and they look down and then they like spin and start the transformation.
What this doesn't really fit with like the tone of PreCure that exists today, but like what if they opened the compact and like scanned their eye retinas before the henshin started?
I love that.
So like I said, what I was imagining was kind of more like a James Bond-esque, like wearing suits and being like gentleman thieves, except girls, gentleman
detective, gentleman spies.
Yeah, something like that. But then I also realized girls, bright colors, doing spy stuff, that's totally spies.
Hey, that's actually great. We could have Totally Spies again, but without all the weird fetishy stuff that was in the original show, because PreCure is wholesome.
If you're slightly older, I don't know, maybe like 15 or up, and you go back and you rewatch Totally Spies, or you see some of the clips on Twitter, there's some weird stuff in that show. I watched it when I was a kid, and I don't remember picking up on any of it, but once you get to a certain age and you look back, you're kind of like, huh, there's some stuff in here.
Man, you know what I would love? Was it Nick Doramio who did the iCarly and Victorious?
What's his name? Quentin Reviews.
Quentin Reviews, if you somehow are listening to this, I would love to see you do a Totally Spies recap.
Absolutely.
I think you'd really bring the right energy to it. And to be clear, I didn't listen to either of those videos that I just mentioned because I can't do long-form YouTube videos, but Joel listened to them and he played me the good clips.
Yeah, absolutely. You know who else would bring an appropriate amount of energy to a Totally Spies review?
Mike's Mike.
CJ the X.
Oh, nice. Yeah. Oh, man.
Yeah, CJ the X, a very energetic creator on YouTube. Absolutely in love with Miraculous Ladybug, and I cannot wait until they get 1 million subscribers and they do the video that they've promised.
Oh, yeah. They're waiting to do the Miraculous Ladybug video. I thought they had done one.
They've done one, but the title of the one that they will write later, it's going to be called Miraculous is Great and Here's Why, which is different than the other video that they created, I guess. Can you think of... Oh my gosh, what if the fairy/mascot was a penguin because it always looks like they're in suits? Or it could be a chameleon because they're good at blending in.
It could be both. Would you go with a large team or a duo for this season?
I always love a duo, but whenever we're talking about pitching a season, I always think of like a team of like 3 to 4. Not as big as the Kira team, but I don't know. This could be really good for a pair team, actually. So I'm going to say pair.
Yeah, I was thinking pair as well, because then you can get into situations where, like, one of them is in a sticky situation and the other one can, like, keep doing her mission or get her friend out.
Yeah.
Plus, our last pitch was for a large team. I feel like different motifs kind of lend themselves to... Or not motifs, different themes lend themselves better to larger or smaller teams.
Absolutely.
What would your overarching theme be?
Well, so the funny thing about a secret agent team, like the thing that makes me go, "How that would be great," is that it kind of is at odds with the kind of tone of other PreCure seasons. It feels like it's a little bit more like edgy and dark or whatever, and like so I don't think this necessarily fits with other PreCure seasons, but maybe something like everyone has like a true self that they don't necessarily share with everyone or whatever. And you know, maybe there's more going on in people's lives than it seems. So maybe there could be like a rich mean girl, the Ojo Sama kind of character. And maybe the girls are trailing her because they think that she's involved in the evil plot. And then it turns out that maybe she's like insecure or something. And they're like, oh, okay.
Man, Star Twinkle update. We haven't seen Hime Ojo in a while. She's the best.
She shows up in episode 25, which we will be watching next Friday.
I sure do hope that she's the 6th Ranger.
Yeah, absolutely. That would be great.
But it's interesting that you would mention the idea of the true self, because I was going to suggest revealing the truth as a theme for this season. And so, yeah, I think the true self thing is a good one. No. I'm not very articulate today, am I?
That's okay. We have good days and we have bad days. Most of the time, I can't even say words right. So.
Yeah. Due to work stuff, I was up late waiting for a phone call because I was on call last night. And then my wonderful dogs decided that 7 a.m. was a good time to be screamo. So I'm a little bit tired, but that is okay. We are here to have fun and talk about PreCure.
Absolutely. And on that note, I think we're about done with the discussion question?
Yes, we are.
Okay, cool.
Now, let's talk about a PreCure season.
Yes.
I would like you to pitch me a PreCure season based on holidays.
So, I think that the girls would have to be pretty excited about parties and maybe different cultures. Because, if you think about it realistically, I don't know how evenly spaced the actual, canon is. Episode 12 of Tropical Rouge and episode 13, were they 2 days apart in universe, or were they 6 months apart in universe? Probably not 6 months. That's too much time. But if you assume that the episodes air in relatively realistic time, so each episode takes place on a different week, there's not that many holidays that are big and celebratory. So it seems like they would have to either travel around to different places that have, local... I guess those wouldn't be holidays. Those would be more like festivals.
Well, so PreCure usually airs from mid-February to right before the next season comes out to mid-February. So that's a whole year's worth of holidays. They do the Christmas episode usually around when Christmas is.
Well, yeah, but I'm just saying that, in terms of major holidays that you could do, an episode about that would be interesting, I don't think that you have 40 unique holidays. So I think that if you had it focus on different cultures or different people from different regions or something like that, you would be able to say, this week we're talking about this special holiday from Germany or whatever, and then next week we'll talk about a special holiday that comes from South Africa or something like that.
Okay, I like that. I think I would make one of the core themes of this season embracing our differences.
Okay.
There would be a series of holiday worlds a la Nightmare Before Christmas, and each of the girls would get a fairy that comes from that world.
Oh, okay.
And it would be about, we're all celebrating different things, but we're all celebrating.
Okay,
and so it's about bringing people together. You could have one who's obsessed with love, and she's the cure of White Day and Valentine's Day.
Okay.
I think you'd have to have a Christmas one. That would probably be your pink.
Probably, maybe?
What's the Japanese holiday where they make wishes on the tree?
Is that Tachibana Festival, I think?
I think so. We just watched an episode of Star Twinkle about it, but I would like one of the cures to be that holiday. I think that'd be cool.
Absolutely. That could be the mid-season cure, because if the season starts in February, I believe Tachibana is the 7th of July. I think it's 7/7 is the date that they celebrate it, and so that would give them enough time to kind of introduce her.
Okay.
I think that would be great.
Cool. I like it.
Does the episode that airs on a particular holiday give that character special focus?
Yes.
Okay, absolutely. So you know it's coming up. You know that this is going to be the Christmas girl's big Christmas event, and you know that the Halloween girl, Cure Spooky, gets a special, Halloween episode.
You are such a mind reader. I was going to say Cure Spooky for Halloween. Cure Jolly or Cure Holly for Christmas? Maybe it's twins. Twin cures.
I think I like Holly I like Holly better, but I think Jolly would be the more likely if they actually did that.
Okay, or Cure Jingle.
She has 8 fairies. She has Comet and Cupid and Donner and Blitzen, someone, something, and another one.
I can tell you celebrate the religious holidays, the high holy days.
Oh, I don't know all... Dasher and Prancer and Donner and Vixen.
Blitzen.
Cupid and Comet and Donner and Blitzen. Nope, I can't do it.
That's okay. You're doing your best. Maybe her fairy would be Rudolph inspired, though.
Oh, yeah, with a red nose or something. Absolutely.
I think that if you were focusing on parties and holidays and togetherness and the things that are the same about us, then the bad guys would be creepy hyper individualists. And the way that they would, make the monsters of the week, they would turn the hearts of man, is they'd convince people you're better than them, you don't need them.
Selfishness kind of a thing. What if one of the bad guys was just Ebenezer Scrooge. Like, he wants all of the money, and he's mean to other people, and he attacks you with ghosts that can make you see the sad past or something like that.
Okay. Would you want Ebenezer Scrooge or the Grinch?
Oh, that's an excellent point.
Gunch Punch.
I like the Grinch or the Gunch, I suppose, because that would mean that they could have wacky cartoon abilities, like he could have like a stretchy body or something. I'm sorry. The Gunch's preferred pronouns are Gunch and Gunch self. So Gunch could be running around doing all sorts of Gunchy things.
What a great intro discussion. I wanted to call this a mic test. Our mic test was weird today, by the way. I don't know where Joel puts those up or if he saves them for like the end of the season mega post.
So what I did for season 1, because I didn't know what my plan was. I put them all up on YouTube exclusively. They are not on the podcatcher of choice. And I did 10 episodes at a time in chunks. So that's what I'll be doing this season. So once we get to episode 10 of Badoom Boom Boom, Cure of the What Now, it will go up on YouTube. So
awesome.
Absolutely.
Do you have a discussion question for me this week?
Yes, I have a PreCure plot that I would like to suggest. Now, as I've said before, I'm not really into traditionally girly things a whole lot, so I'm not going to have ideas that are going to fit the traditional PreCure mold. So most of my suggestions are going to be a little bit outside of PreCure normal stuff. But
PreCure football, where they all just tackle each other the whole season.
You don't tackle people in soccer. Oh, you meant American football.
I meant football, yeah.
Yeah, American football.
Where do we live? What country are we in?
We live in the void.
What country are we in now?
I don't know.
Okay, we're in America, and so sure? I'm going to use the typically accepted words for things, since that's where we are. If we move to England or Spain or Brazil, then we can say American football versus football. But here we say soccer.
Hang on. Si empezamos a hablar en español, claro que sí, es fútbol y fútbol americano.
Sí.
Perfect. Now, anyways, what I was going to say, my slightly probably won't happen with with actual PreCure with Toei, but what about a season where they like video games and their PreCure forms can actually like level up and that sort of things? And there's like secret keys that you could find for power-ups.
I love this. May I introduce you to Kamen Rider X-Aid?
Yes, I tried Kamen Rider X-Aid and I didn't like it.
It wasn't for me. I really loved Kamen Rider Drive. Like, I knew in the first 5 minutes of Drive, this is a show for me. I knew in the first 5 minutes of X-Aid that I wasn't going to enjoy it as much. But it does have cool costumes, and I like the idea of he gets little cartridges, and each cartridge is a different game, and that gives him different powers while he's fighting. That's cool, and we can steal it for our PreCure season. That's the items they're collecting is the 10 holy cartridges.
Oh,
or whatever.
Okay. I like it. Now, the main cure, who's usually pink, tends to embody whatever that season is about. And technically, the video games don't have to be what the season's about. The season could be about being your true self.
Trying hard.
Embracing your hobbies or something like that. But if you wanted the main character to be really into video games, they could be a glasses-wearing kind of nerdy girl, if you wanted to. Or they could be someone who's really into like one specific video game, and they're wondering if they should branch out, and one of the other cures they meet in one of the first couple of episodes could be more of the, I know a lot about video games. I know the history, and I know what makes the NES games appeal to some people, and I know what an RPG game is, and the main girl could be like, RPG? I don't understand.
Sounds like a blue cure. Yellow is really into DDR, and DDR only, but she's so good at it, and she uses dance-style moves to beat the bad guys.
Oh my gosh, yes, please. And she's also a bit like how Madoka from Star Twinkle comes off. She's a little bit like how I believe one of the Hugto girls are like, but she's the princess that everyone thinks is like untouchable and like separate from their world, and she's just always at the arcade doing DDR, but no one ever talks to her until she gets dragged into this plot.
That would be so much fun to watch, though. Can you imagine? Punch, kick, punch, dodge, punch. And it's just the whole fight, and the bad guy's like, would you stop that?
Oh my gosh. The fairy could basically be a Tamagotchi as well. Like, it's this little floating guy, and you have to feed it with the buttons and stuff.
That's kind of what Meppel and Mipple were in the original.
Bit, sure. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So, yeah, no, I'm totally on board with that. Did I tell you that I correctly guessed and then confirmed Digimon was released to be like the boy version of Tamagotchi?
Interesting. Okay.
Mm-hmm. That's why they evolve, because that's what happened in Tamagotchi, is if you fed your pet well, it would like turn into other creatures.
Okay, yeah. See, I have fond memories of a Tamagotchi. I do not remember anything about it, honestly. I saw a video recently where someone mentioned that they found an old one and they were playing like some like up-down game, and I was like, I don't remember that at all.
I once I think it was 6th grade, it would have had to have been because that's when I was in Catholic school, but I found a book in the library
We got a deep lore cut about Catherine today.
I found a book in the library that was like, the ultimate guide to Tamagotchis, or to raising your Tamagotchi. And I was like really into it, but Tamagotchis were before my time. I was way too little when they were popular to have one. And so I never owned a Tamagotchi, but I've always kind of romanticized it because of this book.
The age gap is showing, because I had a Tamagotchi, and I remember my mom distinctly complaining that she shouldn't have to feed my pet while I was at school, because Tamagotchis weren't allowed, so they had to stay with her. And I was like, Mom, if you don't feed it every 2 hours, it dies. I can't tend to my V-pets, my virtual pet.
What a nice mom, though, that she did it anyway.
Yeah.
Because that doesn't seem like something that my mom would do, or that I would expect your mom to do, but she did it.
So, Secret Cure, obviously a video game character who comes to life.
Yes. Oh my gosh, what if it's like the princess in the dungeon or whatever?
Yes, it could be like an AI character. Absolutely, that would be so good. And obviously not all, but a lot of mid-season cures are kind of like not of the world, so they have a little bit of like, what are the customs of this planet we call Earth kind of a phase, and that would fit a virtual program so much. She would like go into like the school cafeteria and be like, I will give you 3 ogre meats, and the other girls would be like, no, and then like put a hand over her mouth and drag her away.
I have bad news for you, Joel.
Yeah?
The villains of this season are once again just boomers.
No!
Get your head out of the screen and pay attention to real life. No, playing games together brings us together as friends.
Oh my goodness gracious. Absolutely, absolutely. Is there anything else that we really need to cover? I'm not sure.
What does the fairy creature look like? And does it, like a Tamagotchi, progress through various stages?
You know I love Mia. Everyone has their own individual fairy. I wonder if... I think the fairy should be able to evolve, but I don't like the idea of the first 10 episodes, it's... I don't know,
it's a
blob or something. And then for 11 to 15, it's a blob with legs, and then after that it has arms. So maybe it has like different forms that it can take, and maybe it gets its different forms from the different girls that join the team. They can like put their little cartridges, their discs, into the Tamagotchi, and that allows the fairy to take on different forms or something like that.
Okay, I like that a lot. Speaking of which, I just want to shout out Cancer Form Fua.
Oh, yes.
Fua with cancer is somehow the cutest Fua.
She's just wearing a little crab onesie. She's
just
adorable.
A little crab puff. I love her. I love her so much. But this is not a Star Twinkle episode.
We usually start with a lead-in discussion. Last week we were a little jumbled and we weren't able to come up with one. But this week we're back, baby. And I've got kind of an esoteric idea. It's not one that I think that they would probably do in a lot of PreCure, but okay. So in other seasons, like Princess PreCure, one of our favorite season, they have different dresses, and throughout the series, they get like increased attack power or whatever. What I am thinking of is a PreCure season where they have different forms or different styles of fighting, but they are not incrementally better. It's not like this is the level 1, this is the level 2, this is the level 3. What I'm thinking of is like the PreCure can have like an attack form, or they can have a defense form, or they can have a healing form. I guess technically that's what Princess or Witchy did. Witchy had different forms or whatever. But if you were to make it like really central to the theme of the story, that they can they have multiple PreCure forms they can take, what other structures would you put into the story that kind of feed into that theme? Does that make sense?
I think so. So you're saying if they could take different forms as PreCure.
Yeah.
So like they've got a fire form or an ice form or they're Kirby, basically. What else, like what would support that in the story?
Yeah, exactly.
So I think overall the story would be about becoming your best self, kind of like how Sabomi wanted to become like a stronger version of her.
Absolutely.
And so you would definitely have a scene where they fought dark versions of themselves.
Sure. Yeah,
because
absolutely.
I love that trope. And where else would you put it other than look at all these alternate forms? Maybe somebody walks into like the Hall of Mirrors where you will become a stronger PreCure, and in every mirror is a different reflection of them.
Oh.
They have to fight all of them.
Very Bleach-esque of you, even though I don't think you've seen that episode of Bleach.
I haven't seen any episodes of Bleach.
You've seen clips.
But yeah, I think that would be the major theme, would be becoming your best self. And so kind of like how in Hugto they tried out different jobs throughout. Maybe they would try on different personas. Like 1 week they'd be like punk alternative girls at the skate park, and then 1 week they'd be K-pop idols.
Okay. I think that a lot of PreCure seasons have done this, but I think they would kind of get characters from each individual episode who have their own kind of journey, and they would become friends with one of the PreCure. So I think what enables, like, let's say that the main character is named Sarah, generic English name, but, you know, if Sarah meets another girl who is into skateboarding, like you just mentioned or whatever, and they have like a strong friendship that they form, and then the bad guys show up and attack the skate park, it is Sarah's love of this new activity and her friend that gives her her new PreCure punk form or whatever, right?
Yes.
So they would have specific relationships that were especially strong, and that's what would give them the ability to transform into their new forms. I do not like the idea of there being magical MacGuffins, and once they find the MacGuffin, they get their new form. That seems lazy. I'd prefer that it is born like from their heart and their feelings.
I like that a lot. I prefer that to the, I think it's happiness charge. They get different cards that allow them to put on different outfits.
Oh, cool. I mean, I like that motif, but, you know, again, if it's just like you picked up the magic rock and now you have a red outfit, that doesn't feel quite the same as, again, being born of your true feelings.
Absolutely. Also, I just want to let you all out there in the podcasting space know we do not tolerate happiness charge slander on this podcast.
Is that one of the seasons that is like contentious or that doesn't?
It's the one with the kind of weird art style, and it's super, super campy. Like, it is just ridiculously over the top.
Is that the 10th season one where okay, yeah. Definitely has its own unique art style. I like it, but I
just, Cure Lovely is such a perfect, ridiculous person. And her shouting, "I Cure Lovely am invincible" in the opening is like
that's
perfection.
That's chef's kiss right there.
Exactly. Absolutely. Once again, the villains are accidentally boomers, because I think my pitch for villains for this season would be people who feel like they are too old to change and they've stagnated. And they don't want anybody else to change either because they can't. And the PreCure would be like, it's never too late to try to be your best self. You can always try something new.
They could be sort of like you're basically, everyone is well suited to a task and they should only do the thing that they're best at. You know, if you're not good at art, don't do art, even though artists might encourage other people to do art if they want to on their own time, kind of a thing.
Absolutely. Joel, you said that you had a discussion question for us this week.
Yes, absolutely. So I think I've started running out of ideas for, like, what if all 5 of the cures were dolphins? Oh, shit, that's a good one. I'm writing that down.
Wait, if this isn't the one that you were going to do, tell me. But it's Mother's Day this weekend. PreCure season We're Moms.
I like that. That was not what I was going to do, but that's on theme for what's happening this next week. Happy Mother's Day to any mothers out there. So the first thing you said, the first thing that came to mind when you said PreCure with moms was the PreCure themselves would be MILFs from all the different seasons, but that isn't on brand with PreCure. It's too far out of the realm. So what I would instead say is that it focuses on the relationships of each girl with their parents. And because I am a person who pushes for diversity and inclusion and stuff, one of them could have gay moms. Because I think what you would do is you'd have different types of moms. So maybe one family is the working mom who, has to work like 2 jobs or whatever because maybe the dad's out of the picture. Maybe he passed away or something.
Or maybe she just really likes her career. Like she's the high ladder climbing mom.
Okay, I like that. And then you have maybe the 2 moms, and then I think another one would probably be like more of the artsy, home cooking, traditional wife mom.
Would you have her be the one who runs like a family inn, or would you have that be like the powered executive mom?
Well, I mean, powered executive definitely has to be like in a suit and working in a building that's like 50 stories high or something like that. Has a hard time finding time for her kids, but then in the episodes that focus on her, you can see how hard she's working for her family.
The best part about this season pitch is that we know the folks at Toei love to draw MILFs.
Yes.
So this season would just let them run wild with unrestrained MILF energy.
Okay. That is absolutely going in the hits from season 2.
Unrestrained MILF energy. I also think a theme of this season would be nurturing. And I think that the fairy that they get would be an egg.
And it evolves through different forms or something like that.
So like episode 1, she'd find this egg, our PreCure, and she'd be carrying it around, and by the end of the episode, it would crack just enough so that it had, like, feet and eyes, but it wouldn't come out of its shell.
There's a Digimon design I have to show you. It was one of my favorites as a kid, and it's an egg with legs and just the little eyes.
I am positive that I must have seen that Digimon, and I bet the thing that I'm imagining looks identical.
Exactly. Really quick, I do want to say, I mentioned this a second ago about the highlights of the season. We would love interactions on Twitter. If you are listening to this, and there's just a part that absolutely made you die laughing, please let us know. This is not just us trying to get engagement, but I'm literally going to compile an episode that is all of the highlights from funny things that we said. And so far, it only contains things that made me and Kat laugh out loud. And hopefully, people will like that. But if the fans have like, oh yeah, this back and forth was pretty good. I don't know how other podcasts keep track of their best and worst of the year or whatever, but I think I'm just going to keep track of it by people messaging us.
Every time you say the word fans, I just imagine Markiplier, like the clip of him freaking out over the fan in Five Nights at Freddy's. The fan! Yes. The fan is purple guy. The lore.
The lore.
I'm sorry, I'm an unapologetic FNAF stan, and at this point I'm in too deep. I can't escape.
Absolutely.
It doesn't matter that I'm 30. My boss was telling me the other day, she was like, my 9-year-old grandson really likes something called, like, Five Nights at something. And I was like, it's Five Nights at Freddy's, yeah. And she was like, yeah, and he's always building some sort of skeleton. And I was like, endoskeletons? And she goes, yeah. And I was deeply embarrassed.
Maybe what happened is that there was a tragic murder. I'm not saying that you committed it, but perhaps... No, like in the area, right? And their psychic energy was drawn to you for some reason. And so they've attached themselves, and that's why you're so drawn to FNAF, because they were into it before they were murdered.
Yeah, could be. Could be that I first discovered FNAF the last time I was truly happy.
Oh.
So
that's a sad theory. Okay, yeah, I mean, absolutely. You've been looking for that series that could give you that same endorphic rush, and that's why you like Kirby, because Kirby's just, pure and good to pull some...
He's so round and pink, and I just want to squeeze him.
You know what I've just come across?
Tell me.
I have come across the wreckage of a train, and I feel as though this train somehow got off the rails. So I'm just going to use my amazing strength given to me by the power of all the rice that I ate today. I'm going to put it back on the rails and say that normally I'm a fan of vibrant colors. I love vibrant colors, and I don't really like pastels, but for a mom season of PreCure, definitely going to get some softer colors.
We're going to have a lavender. We're going to have a sea foam. We're going to have... What do you think? Like a yellow maybe, or a
I think
light
a yellow
pink?
would fill it out, because I mean we're going to have a pink obviously, because that's going to be the main one. But now you have a pink, a member of the purple family with lavender and then like a blue or a green. So you need like a warm color that's still soft to kind of balance it out.
Absolutely, absolutely. Also, you mentioned our jokes and bloopers. No, not bloopers, but like our highlights.
Yes.
Reel. I was going to say something about highlights and jokes and things that we say, and it's gone. Why is my brain like this? Oh, it was a really... Well, now I'm going to be
talking about
upset for the rest of the night.
We were talking about pastel colors, lavender, seafoam.
No, it was way back before I got
really?
distracted by FNAF, yeah. And I remembered it, and then you started talking about pastels, and now it's gone forever.
Train? Putting the train back on the tracks?
This is before that.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's fine, it's fine. Let's do the podcast. What's up next?
So I think that about covers it. I will say we've already had this with a couple of characters. I believe one of the Smile girls has...
We're gonna have to leave all this in so that it makes sense. We used to every week shout out Mermaid Monopoly Monday, and we don't have an equivalent. That was a message we got last season, was that it was from the person who made Mermaid Monopoly Monday, and they were like, "Oh, thanks for shouting it out on the pod. It's so good." And I need something similar.
I think we were prevented from getting something like Mermaid Monopoly Monday for the first 7 episodes, or what episode are we on? The first 7 episodes of Delicious Party, because we didn't properly have a healthy portion of Ran to add to the meal. So now that Ran's here, we might get some kind of a meme post about her.
Yeah, we've got a balanced meal. The 3 main food groups, rice, bread, and noodles. Now all we need is potatoes. Oh my god, Gentle's a potato.
Cure potatoes. Cure hash browns.
Welcome to the show, folks. No news or announcements this week, so we are going to go straight into that sizzling, slippery discussion question. Joel, hit me with the sauce.
Okay, that was a very energetic and unique way of introducing us to the discussion question. Oh, I have one that I wanted to ask last week, and then you reminded me about Mother's Day. But now I realize that Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness just came out. So
why don't you present both and we'll pick?
Oh, okay. The Doctor Strange one would be pitch me a PreCure season that involves like parallel universes in some way, shape, or form. And then the other one is pitch a season where the evil generals, the first 3 that show up, maybe there could be a secret 4th one later, but one represents the air, one represents the land, and one represents the sea.
Ooh. I like elements, but I'm going to say let's do Doctor Strange.
Yeah, it's topical.
Timely.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and we'll do elements next week. So here's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
The PreCure are as regular people, right? Before they become PreCure, weird stuff keeps happening in their town. There'll be these big holes in the air, and monsters and stuff come through, and nobody knows what's happening. Every once in a while, a brightly colored girl also comes through and fights the monsters and pushes them back. Kind of like Happiness Charge. We're sort of doing a Happiness Charge here.
Okay.
So they're aware that PreCure exist and are possible, but it is not until a fairy comes through and bumps into the main character that PreCure exist in this universe. And so what she finds out is that the forces of darkness, or whatever you want to call them, have taken over the entirety of one universe and are trying to subsume other universes into them. And the PreCure are fighting to stop this.
I like that. I like that a lot. A couple of ideas that came to mind as you were talking for me, not necessarily directly related to what you're saying. It'd be interesting if the main cure ran into what would be like the most powerful PreCure in all of the multiverse, but she doesn't get a good look at this other girl, and so she spends a lot of time looking for this person and trying to like learn from her, and maybe in like the mid-season when all hope is lost, she shows up again, saves the day, and she's just like, good work, and then she flies off again, and she's like, no, I'm using a lot of she pronouns, but you know what I mean. Our main character would be like, I wanted to talk to you and get your autograph, and you could set up a plot twist where at the very end it turns out that the most powerful magical girl is just her from another universe who's already at the end of her journey.
Oh, I like that. That's so fun. You'd also, of course, want to have some multi-universal travel, because who doesn't love that part of exploring the multiverse?
Well, see, and I think that Yes, not to give away my opinion on Doctor Strange 2, but I think that there should have been more multiverse hopping and more, like, strange new worlds. And so I don't think every episode should be you go to another universe, but I think it should be, like, 1 out of every 3 at minimum should be they go to, like, a weird techno universe, they go to a dinosaur universe or something.
Spoilers here. Plug your ears for 30 seconds. Are you telling me you didn't like New York, but better because he wasn't there?
It was New York, but better because Reed Richards was there. I'm almost positive.
Okay. Can you imagine, It's a Wonderful Life, but then the spirit takes him on this journey to see how the world is different, and the world is just significantly better without him around.
There is no cancer for some reason. He's just like, I'm not even related to that.
He was making everybody miserable.
Oh my gosh. Johnny Bravo actually did that, apparently. Everyone's lives was better, but there was one specific hair product that only he bought that went out of business, and so he decided he had to live to keep that business in business.
Cool.
Yeah. The other thing I think, too, is you could have it be like that season of My Little Pony where the map told people to go places and they weren't sure, like, what was happening there. You could have, like, some kind of, like, sci-fi device that opens portals, but they don't know where the portals lead. That actually might be Stargate as well. But they go and they have to investigate and they have to figure out.
It wouldn't be a sci-fi device. It would be like a ring that glows and then they can draw a circle in the air with it.
Okay, yeah, absolutely. Also, every time they go to an alternate universe, it is my rule as director, if I were directing this, that they have to meet at least one other PreCure that is not just an alternate version of them. They can run into alternate versions of themselves, but there also has to be like a momentary bonus cure just for that episode. They go to Dino World and there's like Cure Cave Woman or something.
I was gonna say, what if they meet a PreCure who's just like a cat in a tiara?
I love that.
This cat can talk as a PreCure, but not as a cat. So once it unhensions, it just goes back to licking itself. I also think that the MacGuffin, the collectible for this season would be individual spools of thread, and they'd each be like a different color. And it would be symbolic of like the ties that bind us, kind of like the red string of fate, but also there'd be a big dramatic like PreCure needle where they can sew the rifts closed.
Okay. I really like that. The bad guys are once again boomers, because why wouldn't they be? And it is people who have gotten to the age where their children have left the house and don't call very often. And these kids not only moved out of town, moved out of state, they moved to another dimension. So the boomers are trying to chase them and be like, return your calls! I got some letters that I need to give to you!
Oh no! No!
But this actually sets up a redemption arc in the final arc of the season when the PreCure have to go to the evil dimension or whatever, and they bring all of the bonus cures from all of the other episodes, of course, to make brief cameos. But they find the children, and it turns out that there is some like miscommunication. Like the parents feel like their children left and never called back, and the children felt like they weren't allowed to live their lives under the shadow of their parents. And so you could have a reunion, and this could be one of those the villains were human all along sort of situations, rather than they're pure evil and need to be obliterated sort of story.
No, I love that. That would be very sweet. I would also want them to have a member of the team who was from another universe, and you could have the emotional, you have to go back to yours, but we'll miss you, because everything needs to be put back to the way it should be.
But then plot twist. After the rifter closed and the girls are sitting around eating ice cream or whatever whatever this series is, Star Donuts is, they see someone in the distance. And it's the girl with the same hair, but it's that girl from their universe, and they go befriend her.
That makes me happy. Maybe her arc was that she didn't believe in friendship, and they taught her what friendship could be. So they see this other girl, and they're like, "She's lonely, friend."
My magical PreCure. So I have come up with a fun game that we're going to play for our lead-in discussion.
Okay.
We're still going to be working with a hypothetical season of PreCure. But what's going to happen is I'm going to give you some pieces of what I'm thinking of, and this is actually going to be a PreCure series based off of something else.
Okay.
probably a work of fiction, a video game or a TV show or a movie or something, but it could also just be based off of the country of Germany, And so I'm going to give you a couple of pieces, and I'll tell you when I've given you them all, so no premature guessing, and then you can try and, figure out if you can figure out what I'm sneaking in.
Okay. I will figure out what you're figuring out to sneaking in.
My apologies. My brain is literal soup. Okay.
Have you had an MRI to confirm that? Because I feel like that would be extremely concerning to any medical doctors. Or publishable. The fact that you're still functioning with a soup brain.
I guess that's true. See, I just assumed that because our dog was licking my ears like crazy, it must mean that, there's something tasty in there, I don't know.
That's the peanut butter. I store it in there for later.
Excellent. All right. Let's start with the color scheme of the cures, because I think that's very important. You're obviously going to have your pink leader. You're going to have a blue, a red, and a yellow. And the secret cure, the sixth ranger, will be black themed, which is, I think, kind of an interesting idea to go with.
Okay.
We have the motif or the theme for the season. I'm not really sure, because those are slightly different. Mm-hmm. But you would have, protecting the environment, especially animals. The MacGuffins to collect will be 7 brightly colored gems.
All right, so it's Sonic. Anyway, sorry, tell me the last one. And then I'll guess.
So the transformation items would be bracelets or rings.
Haha, it is Sonic. At first I was like Kirby, but then you threw me for a loop with black because I was expecting Meta Knight's color to be purple.
Okay. I might do silver if I were to do a Meta Knight PreCure.
Okay,
to go with the mask.
That's fair, yeah. Also, I was stuck on, so obviously pink would be Kirby, blue would be Waddle Dee.
Okay.
But then, or not Waddle Dee, would be King Dedede.
Red could be Waddle Dee.
Red would be Waddle Dee, but I was like, who is yellow? That doesn't matter. I'm going to set that aside. There is technically a yellow Kirby called, Kubi or something.
Oh, no, that. Yeah, it's Kiibi. Kiiby, because ki is the Japanese word for yellow.
That's right. Thank you. Mm-hmm. But then we moved on, and I was like, okay, I see where this is going. I love that, actually. I think that would be an amazing season, especially because one of my favorite things about Go Princess was that the bad guys were robots, kind of. I love the idea of an Eggman-style villain who wants to, turn the world into robot world. That's also Kirby, by the way. I can tell you so many things about Kirby if you are interested outside of this podcast.
Absolutely. So the one thing that when I was thinking of this, I was like, oh, Kat would love a PreCure season based off of Sonic. And I figured there would be 3 cures, blue, red, and yellow. But then when I decided to turn this into a game, I figured that A, that trio of colors would be a little obvious, and B, the fact that there was no pink cure. But obviously Amy Rose, through the rules of pink being the main color, the Amy Rose character would be the main character. The yellow character would be the youngest, and they would also be the kind of brainiac, and red would punch really hard.
It's funny, too, because you could actually do a version of what you're suggesting, but with only Sonic ladies. So instead of Tails, the yellow would be a Cream analog. Okay,
so Cream, Amy... Who else do we have? Wasn't there Blaze? Was she a lady?
Blaze isn't a girl, but for blue, you could have the cat. Do you know the psychic cat?
Yeah, Blaze the cat.
Oh, I thought you said Big the cat.
Oh, okay, no. Blaze the cat and Silver, I think is his name. They showed up as a pair or something.
I was also thinking Rouge could be in there as red.
Yeah. Rouge could also, she could be the secret cure if you were to focus only on the ladies of PreCure, because... she's secretly a good guy. What?
Can you imagine a duo PreCure season based on Amy Rose and Cream? And kind of the dynamic is that Amy Rose is too assertive and Cream is too withdrawn.
Too timid or whatever. Okay. Yeah, I like that.
And then Rouge joins them as the secret third cure.
And her secret is that she can kick really good. Mm-hmm. She's a femme fatale, but in a PreCure set, I don't know how that would work.
Kind of like Gentle, I think.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely.
This is a great discussion question. I like this. I hope that I did not steal your thunder by being too excited to guess.
Oh, no. I specifically specifically said, wait till I've given you all the clues, and you circumvented that. That's
shit,
okay. No,
I
that's
didn't
all
hear
right.
that. I wasn't
You
listening.
cheated a little bit. That's fine.
Listen,
that's
I was
fine.
just excited about how smart I am. I have a terminal teacher's pet disease. If I know the right answer, I have to say it.
Well, it's possible that next week we will do this again if either of us comes up with some hints that could kind of point to the correct answer. But, there's some other ideas that I've been cooking up in my brain.
Ooh,
so
I like your brain kitchen. That's where you make the soup.
Absolutely.
Welcome, everybody. I just want to take a moment. Let's all embrace the vibe. We're all going to be chill today. We're all going to be on topic. We're all going to record just like regular people. Joel, I believe you have a discussion question for me.
Yeah, absolutely. We kind of covered this, well... See, I brought up the generals that represent the three, flying, land, and then sea, or whatever, and I really do want to talk about that, but right now, the thing I most want to talk about is our favorite season of Sentai, Tokyuger. They had trains that went into their transforming
Their henshin
items, and they were able to switch those trains mid-battle, and then they would switch costumes. They would switch colors. So let's brainstorm a PreCure season where they can do that, where they each have, like, their main color, but then mid-battle they can kind of, like, swap and mix or something like that.
Okay, I like that. What if each of them has a different style of attack?
Okay.
Right? You've got the archer girl, because when isn't there an archer girl in PreCure? You've got somebody who's got the big punchies. You've got somebody with a hammer.
Okay, you got like a shield person.
Yeah, absolutely. So when they switch costumes, they switch powers.
Okay, yeah.
And you could even have it be a like they get the ability to do this as they get closer together. So like learning about the other person allows you to put yourself in their shoes and empathize with them.
Have you been reading my PreCure work in progress scripts? Because that's the exact mechanism that I had in my story, in my OCs that I was going to write down eventually.
Oh, no, I just thought that was a natural offshoot of the idea.
It absolutely is. That's how it works in Steven Universe, and that's how it works in feelings-based animes, I guess, if that makes sense. So yeah, I really like that idea. One thing that I kind of I don't really think this will happen, but I wonder if Kokone can create the bread slices, and I wonder if she could turn it sideways and one of the girls could jump on it and then she could lift it and be like a way of like launching one of her teammates in the air. So I'm thinking that the main shield cure of this season would just create a straightforward shield, but then one of the other people would make it more like a disc or a platform where they can move someone across the water or something on it.
Oh, I love that. So everybody would use their ability slightly differently than the person who it belongs to.
Exactly. So you would have one person who's probably very straightforward with all of their abilities. That's probably the one who is normally the punchy girl. The archer would probably be more of a strategist, and the shield is probably more of a support unit, if that makes sense. And so when they swap around, how does the strategist use their super strength? Maybe they punch a pillar so that it falls on the Zakena or whatever the bad guy is, as opposed to Punchy Girl who would just punch the Zakena.
I love that. Would the bad guys for this season be lacking empathy in some way, or would they have the ability to remove empathy from people?
Oh, yeah, see, I think the more direct opposite would be someone who's like empathy, or people who are always fighting amongst each other and they can't use each other's fighting styles. But I think it would be more interesting if they had the power to basically steal things from regular humans. So, the episode 4 would be about someone's dad kind of always being at work or whatever, and then the villains would show up and they'd take his motivation, his work ethic or something, and then they would use that to create the monster, and then saving it would help restore the family balance or something like that.
All right. I like it. Can I make a joke that you absolutely can bleep out or cut out?
Sure.
If the bad guys, if they lack empathy or they can take things from other people, are the bad guys Ted Cruz?
See, normally you're the one telling me not to bring my hot political takes onto this podcast.
Well, and I really don't mean to get political, and we don't need to go into it, but the last week was really rough, and I think that a lot of people are probably feeling a lot of similar emotions to me. So sometimes being lighthearted about things that frustrate us can help us work through them. If you are having a bad time, I hope you have access to some kind of support network, because it really is a bad time to be here and be a person.
It absolutely is. But this is not a...
PreCure. No,
this
it is a PreCure
podcast.
This is not a
Political takes podcast?
A
grassroots movement podcast where we encourage people to go out to... but yeah, I think also... I don't know. I like to try to figure out what the mid-season cure would be like for each of these seasons that we pitch. So maybe what she could do is maybe she would be someone who can enhance the power of someone else. Or maybe she can combine two powers. So she can combine the punchy power and the shield power. I like her being able to, like, temporarily give someone else a boost. Maybe she has a power to give one of them, like, a crown or something, and that makes their abilities stronger for just, like, the duration of the battle. But you can only do it to one person at a time, so she has to be strategic again.
Gotcha. What if she can do the same thing the bad guys can do, but she doesn't take it from the person, she shares it with them?
She, like, copies it or something? Okay, yeah. Really
She's a Kerbo! PreCure opens her mouth, swallows villain whole, news at 11.
I'm just imagining just like one of the villain's legs just like kicking because they've only been like half absorbed into the mouth or whatever. Like, could you imagine if it's just Gentle's boots just flailing because she's bad?
I love it. Oh my gosh. Now, this is a momentous day for our podcast. Do you know why that is, Joel?
Pete finally got 1 million subscribers on TikTok.
How did Pete get to 1 million subscribers before we did? What is this bullshit? Is he showing booty?
We're not on TikTok, and this is a purely audio format. I don't know.
I could show audio booty. Would that get us more followers on our TikTok that doesn't exist?
I think it would bring people to the yard, so to speak. Milkshakes for boys, but audible booty for just everyone in general.
Excellent. Okay, it's sort of a non-binary booty gathering.
Absolutely. It's a
momentous day.
It is,
for
yes.
our podcast. So, again, do you know why?
No, it was because Pete was TikTok.
That was not why.
Okay, why was it
Despite him being a valuable member of this team, it's because people responded to our Reddit post.
Absolutely, absolutely. I always tweet the episode. I post it in the Discord, the link for which is in the YouTube description or the podcast description. And sometimes I remember to post it to Reddit. Reddit is not, I don't use it very regularly, but I try to occasionally put it on the r/PreCure. And we ask our lead-in discussion questions about this season. We're focusing on creating a fan-made PreCure series and kind of like going with like a theme or an idea and that kind of thing, seeing how it grows. And so in this post, I said, does anyone have any ideas about how you would do a power-switching PreCure season a la ToQger? And we got some good feedback. Would you like me to... Should we cover last week's topic with all everyone's additions, or would you like to save that for tweets in a bottle or whatever it's called?
Yeah, let's cover last week's topics with people's additions. We won't read them word for word, but we'll kind of summarize what they said and add our commentary. And then I believe somebody even suggested a discussion question for this week.
Absolutely.
So then we'll do that.
All right, so this comes from the Outcast 06 or 06. I mean, they're both the same way as pronouncing the same thing. But they were describing Power Switch, which is, what about a cure who's the Mega Man of PreCure? They have a database of powers, and they can select which one they want. I love that, and I said that the villain should also have their own evil database that has different powers. So if the Mega Man PreCure has fire, water, and earth powers, maybe the bad guys have wind, darkness, and crystal powers or something like that.
I love that. That would be so awesome. I think that you could really lean into the Sentai Kamen Rider vibes if you went with a cure like this. Like, I imagine her being kind of a solo rider type, and then maybe she gets a secondary rider halfway through the season instead of it being a team show from the beginning.
Yeah, I could see that. They were also suggesting specifically using the costumes of previous seasons, so I think that would work as a as an anniversary special. I know that they had a season of Sentai where they could do that too, where they had all the items and stuff from previous seasons.
That'd be really cool. Something that I learned today is that apparently young girls tend to prefer team shows, like shows with a larger cast, to shows with a single main character or a duo of main characters.
Interesting. Is that why so many PreCure seasons have 4 or 5 characters?
I think so, yeah.
Okay, yeah,
So
cool.
that was just a fun fact that I learned. Some executive at Cartoon Network said that girls graduate from animation to live action and boys don't, and that's why more cartoons are for boys.
I wonder if that's true. But anyways, we also got a comment from Crescent Crossbow, and they had quite a bit to say, but essentially they appear to be taking inspiration from Magia Record, which is I believe, a phone spin-off game of the Madoka Magica series.
This is the Magia Record guy. Hey, guy, if you, and apologies if girl, not guy, because Reddit doesn't have pronouns, or neither, but if you want to hit me up and talk to me about Magia Record, I love Madoka, I love the universe, but I do not comprehend what is going on with Record, so I would love to chat about that. Joel, hit me.
Absolutely. So, like you mentioned earlier, we're not going to read word for word. You can go to the Reddit and find the episode link and read it for yourself. But essentially, it looks like, if I'm understanding this correctly, I'm not an expert, but it looks like in the game there are 4 clans. There's a green clan, there's a crimson clan, there's a blue clan, and an ash clan. And they each represent a specific kind of theme. And then, so Crescent Crossbow suggested that we would have 3 or 4 Kiers who have a specific theme themselves. For instance, you might have a plant-based Kier Arbor, and then they would be able to take on the green, crimson, blue, or ashen form. So, like, one is the visual motif and the theme, and then the other one is kind of like the feeling and like the direction to take it. So I think it was something like the ash was like cosmic horror, and green was like, let me see. Green is hope punk, just like PMMM. Oh, well, Madoka Magic, whatever. It would basically be kind of like you would have 16 unique combinations if you had 4 girls and 4 colors.
That'd be really cool. I especially like the idea of, if each girl has their own theme, then how do you apply their theme under your theme, right? So if you've got a girl who is green and hope, and then you've got somebody who is black and cosmic horror, what does hope cosmic horror look like?
Yes, absolutely.
And I think that would be really cool. Thank you guys so much for sharing your thoughts. It really does make the podcast a lot more fun when we can have back and forth with people.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we kind of maybe touched on this last week, but I also think it would be interesting if different cures had easier or hard times with different, I'm calling them moods, just so I can differentiate between like what their main thing is and what the addition of the color does. But for example, if one character is like super upbeat and there is one that's a little bit more like bloodthirsty, so I guess not upbeat, more like pacifistic, and then the color was more aggressive, they might struggle to understand that. And then, like you suggested, the 2 characters, the one who specializes in it and the one who's having a hard time, they could have a bonding moment, and at the end of the episode, that's when pacifist girl figures out that sometimes you punch things in order to make them stop hurting people.
Kind of like Muse figured out that you can punch your dad in order to protect your dad.
Yes, absolutely.
I will be taking that to heart and punching my father next time I see him.
Out of love, of course.
To protect him.
Yeah. Father, there's an evil spirit inside of you. Yeah!
Somehow I don't think he would respond well to. I saw it on a cartoon. now that I'm almost 30.
Absolutely. Video games don't make me violent, but magical girls do.
Is it really violence if it's for love? Yes.
Yeah.
It is.
Of course, violence is violence.
Keep your hands and feet and teeth to yourselves.
Just keep yourself to yourself, your body. Okay. The same comment thread with the Outcast 06, I mentioned, we're just kind of coming up with different what-if scenarios for each of these lead-in discussions, and they said that they had some ideas, and I said, can I steal some of those ideas? And they went, yeah, with credit, so I am officially crediting user the Outcast 06. Cures that help save the underworld is a theme. And I think that's kind of an interesting departure from the typical magical girl formula that PreCure has. But I will say, when I hear Underworld, I don't think demons and monsters in hell, like from the Christian ideology. I'm thinking of Greek mythology.
I was going to say, the very first place my mind went when I read this comment was the video game Hades.
Of course, yeah, absolutely. So that would be kind of interesting, and you could make the bad guys, they could either be Olympus, or it could be like some, because the underworld's not really evil, it's just like, it's a necessity of life kind of a thing, so you could have a truly evil villains that want to take over the underworld and make it a truly like more hell type of situation. Or you could even have the Titans be the bad guys, the father of all the Olympians.
I like that. What if whoever the bad guys are, right? The Titans maybe, or what if they are trying to escape the underworld and they are trying to use other people's like bodies to do it?
Oh, okay.
And so they can enter the body of anyone who is feeling a set amount of despair. Sufficient, that's the word I was looking for. Anybody who's feeling sufficient despair, they can enter their body, and then they can be on the upper world, and when the girls beat them up, they have to go back to the underworld.
Very nice.
That's not exactly saving the underworld, it's more saving people. But
yeah, okay.
It's a concept I am interested in.
I was, like I said, this feels like a departure from many of the PreCure seasons that you and I have already seen, but I was trying to think of, like, how could you make it a little bit more PreCure themed? And I came up with, what if the main pink, what if her parents are some kind of counselor for people who have lost someone? And, it's devastating when a special person is no longer in your life, but you know that you can always remember them and you can think on the good times and you can think of the lessons that they taught you. And so basically they would kind of team up with spirits in order to fight the bad guys or something like that. And maybe it would be kind of like that they have unfinished business and can't leave the mortal plane until it's fixed or whatever. And so maybe she could be a ghost detective.
Yusuke Urameshi.
Yeah, as foretold in Delicious Party, or as foreshadowed.
Yeah, no, that's great. I like that. Gotcha. So, with that in mind, I have a discussion question for this week that's a little outside the norm for our discussion questions. Okay?
All right. Mm-hmm.
This is going to be something of a debate. I believe Dragon Ball whatever can be classed as a magical girl show. Consider the following. Head empty main character, believes in friendship.
Okay.
Chasing after scattered items that are important to restore balance to the world in some way. Incompetent villain team wants the items. Villain eventually becomes mid-season partner and also gets matching transformation.
I'm not sure how I feel about this, because I don't think that the transformation is inherent to, like, Goku and all of the Saiyans, they get Super Saiyan powers for days. Piccolo becomes a Super Namekian. No one is debating that there aren't transformations in Dragon Ball Z. Cell had a series of transformations. Frieza had a series of transformations. However, it's not as if every fight that Goku goes into, eventually he becomes Super Saiyan, but that was way further in the series. Like, before that, you had martial arts tournaments, you had him fighting Tien, you had him fighting Master Roshi, and in none of those did he have a transformation sequence.
Does he not transform metaphorically?
No.
With each new foe that he fights?
No, I don't think so. I don't.
You don't think so? You don't think Lil Green is a fairy?
His name is Dende.
That's his name. I knew he had a name. Chaozu could also be a fairy. Chaozu's annoying. That's the little dude, right?
He's the little human-looking dude. So there's Chaozu, who kind of looks like a mime, and he's like Tien's understudy or something. They showed up as like a pair duo, and one of them messed with Krillin, and one of them messed with Goku. But there's also a talking pig and a talking cat who can both transform. So I would submit that Puar and... Oh no. Is it Purin? I think his name is Purin. But I think those two are... the fairies, if we were going to go along with it. Also, no, you got to rattle off 4 points. I've only made 1 point.
Okay.
In all of the PreCure scenes that we watch, they spend the entire season getting this magical item, and it gives them ultimate power. And then they never really like have to collect it again, except maybe Max Heart, because the writers for not Max Heart, Futari Wa, because the writers for Futari Wa had to write a second half of the season they weren't planning on. But whereas the Dragon Balls scatter and are not always the solution to all problems.
Okay, that's true. See, I was going to point out, and this is more PreCure than Magical Girl in general, but there's always another plane of existence where the magical items come from, where the fairies come from. If we accept that the Dragon Balls are the magical items and that Lil Green is a fairy, then Namek is the magic plane.
You know there's actual hell in Dragon Ball Z, right? Like, eventually they fight the king of demons or whatever.
Yeah, I know. Whatever, man. That's not relevant to this.
Oh, okay. I'm just saying, I feel like that feels like a whole nother dimension, compared to another planet.
In Fresh PreCure, there were a bunch of other worlds. There was the Toy World. I can't name any of the other ones. I think there was a Sweets World, actually.
There might have been, yeah, absolutely.
Oh, that's where Tart and Chiffon were from.
Yes, it is.
Head empty. Yum.
Anyways, and also, I don't know the history of Magical Girls. Like, I know that it goes back much further in history than PreCure and possibly even Sailor Moon. I don't think Sailor Moon was the first one.
Oh, not at all, yeah.
But as far as head empty, I don't know if that was always a trait of Magical Girl, but I know that because Dragon Ball is basically the father of all shonen, that's where the head empty comes from. That's why Natsu's stupid, it's why Luffy's stupid, it's why Naruto's stupid.
Do you know what I think?
What's that?
I think that a lot of what I associate with Magical Girl anime is specifically PreCure, and I think that Toei makes PreCure, and Toei makes Dragon Ball.
It does, they do.
Probably a lot in common there. I think that they kind of have their core writers. It's the same reason PreCure follows a lot of the same beats as like Sentai and Kamen Rider. These are the beats that work for their target audience.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's see. So, would you consider Vegeta the mid-season cure based off of the character rosters?
Yeah.
Okay. Because, like, you think that villains become heroes in Dragon Ball Z because it happens with Vegeta, and it happens with Android 18, now that I think about it. And it happens with anyone else. I guess Majin Buu technically becomes a friend, but in Dragon Ball, it's literally every fight. He runs into someone's like, this person's stronger than anyone I've ever faced before. 3 episodes later, bam, best friends. Yamcha was a villain. Tien was a villain. Yajirobe was a villain. I bet you don't even know who Yajirobe is, because he's not in Dragon Ball Z. He's in like one of the movies for comic relief, and he does one really cool thing when Vegeta comes to the planet. But like, there's so much power of friendship in Dragon Ball compared to Dragon Ball Z.
Absolutely. It always is amazing to me to remember that Dragon Ball was around a lot longer than all of the other kind of big anime
shonen that we know of. Yeah.
Like One Piece. The writer for One Piece, Ichiro Oda, described being in middle school, I think, when Tien died, and just running down the hall screaming about Tien dying, and everybody gathering around and being really upset.
Quick correction, it was Krillin. Krillin was Goku's best friend, and also former rival.
Yeah,
but he was the first legitimate death in Dragon Ball Z.
Anyway, the point is, I was like, wow, you were in middle school while this thing was airing and getting to major character beats. So, fun fact about Oda, that was the moment. He already had been writing his pirate manga. He had been working on it since he was 10, but that was the moment he knew for sure he wanted to be a mangaka, because he was like, this is how stories can affect people. I want to affect people this way.
Oh, yeah. And the My Hero Academia author, Horikoshi?
Horikoshi.
Thank you. I butchered the name, and I'm so sorry for that. But he looked up to One Piece. He did, like, fan art of some of the characters before he became a mangaka publishing for Shueisha.
He also did PreCure fan art. So can you imagine if he had gone in a more PreCure direction than in a shonen direction? I think I would have loved to see a Horikoshi take on magical girls.
Here's a question that has nothing to do with PreCure. Also, I have something fun about Dragon Ball I want to get on before we move on to our actual, PreCure topic. Do you think the over-sexualization of Horikoshi's female characters comes from him, or do you think it comes from the manga company saying, we need this to sell? This is how we...
Little bit of both.
Okay.
I think it's been normalized in the industry to the point where he was like, I like looking at big booby ladies, and they say, bring on the big booby ladies, so I'm going to include them. But I think if he were writing for somebody else, maybe he would have kept that to himself.
Okay, I'm just saying, if it's like some inescapable part, like if all art he always draws is horny, then he wouldn't really be fit for PreCure. But if it's something that he does for the marketing side, then I think he could change his style.
Yeah, no, his fan art of PreCure is so good. His picture of Cure Flora, she looks like she's going to murder you.
Okay. You've shown that to me before, but I need to refresh my memory of what it looks like. Really quick, I mentioned that Hell's a real place in Dragon Ball Z, and I was specifically talking about, I think his name is Diaboro from the Buu saga, but in Dragon Ball, there was a guy named Devilman. Dragon Ball was very silly compared to Dragon Ball Z and Super, but he had the power to amplify the evil energy in someone's heart to the point where it caused their heart to explode and they would die. And Goku beat him by having no evil in his heart. He was so pure. He was like, nah, man, nothing, this doesn't work on me.
Aw, that's nice.
That was actually a really cool arc where they were fighting all sorts of mythical monsters, and the last one was a strange warrior who seemed to know all of Goku's moves because Goku famously killed his grandpa on accident when he turned into the great Ozaru monkey ape, and the mysterious fighter was his grandfather, who came back for like 24 hours or something and was able to like teach him like some more lessons from beyond the grave.
Is this the plot of Disney's Coco? I've never seen Coco. I don't know. I heard it was a really emotionally important movie, but if it's just Dragon Ball, I'll just watch Dragon Ball. Getting into the main episode, we usually do discussion questions.
Yes.
You have kind of a deer in the headlights look.
Well, I don't know, man. It's a super cash week. I kind of forgot.
It's a cash week. It's a casual week. All right, here's my discussion question then. Which of the delicious party girls would look the cutest in a 4th of July outfit? Like with sparklers and maybe a little hat.
Gosh, all three of the girls we have this season for PreCure are adorable in their own way, because Yui has, boundless energy and enthusiasm, and Ran also has kind of boundless enthusiasm, but it's in more kind of a more, like, I guess, meme-y way, and I guess Yui is more kind of, like, nurturing way, I suppose. And if you put Kokone in a fancy outfit or a different outfit or a dress-up outfit, I think it would be cute because she would probably be shy about it, so you'd be able to get excited for that. But I think I might have to go... I think Yui's my girl. What about you?
I feel like Ran just... She's really got that party girl energy, and I could just see her decked out from head to toe in red, white, and blue, in glittery sequins, in those, like, Mardi Gras beads, but with little flags on them. And, like, I know 4th of July is an American holiday, and these are Japanese characters, right? I'm not trying to push my culture onto them. It's just that there's, like, cute outfits I associate with 4th of July, and...
Yeah, when you were talking about Ran, her real name's Ran, but she calls herself Ran. I'm just gonna interchangeably go between the two. I can't figure out what words are coming out of my mouth.
Right, Mari is a they them, and Ran is a Ran.
Absolutely. Happy Pride Month, everyone. No, when you're talking about Ran's outfit, the first thing that came to mind, and this isn't related to the 4th of July at all, but I imagined Ran wearing the sunglasses that are in the shape of current year for New Year's, the 2023 glasses, the 2022 glasses, or those shader glasses.
Oh, yes.
I never understood the point of those, but she would definitely be the type to wear them.
The only point is that they look kind of ballin'.
Okay, kind of ballin' is one word for it. I would say kind of dorky for my personal fashion taste.
Things can be two things.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's been your discussion question.
Wait. Have you seen that internet video of the dachshund with the Roman candle and it's running and the people are running away from it? Because the dog's too stupid to know or doesn't realize that it's shooting like these fireballs of death. Yeah. Just imagine that with Kome Kome.
She picks it up in her hands and is just running back to Yui. You dropped this! I got it for you! Kome, no!
Goodness.
Also, that, what do you have, a knife?
Oh, yeah. But with Kome Kome, you think?
Yeah, or Mem and Ran. So Ran's got the knife. Mem is the one who goes, no! Her and her crunchy cutter blades, ultra crunchy cutter blades.
That's right. They've gotten an upgrade. Well, they've had an upgrade for a while, but that's what they're called now.
All of my noodles have evolved by one step.
And so that's what we will be covering, and now we can go into our discussion question. I had one I brought up quite a while ago, around Mother's Day, if I recall, and I was like, we should come back to this, and we just keep coming up with other ideas that we want to explore first. So, Catherine.
Yes.
Evil generals play a big part in the series, and a lot of times they have themes or they have distinct personalities. So I want to work together with you to come up with a PreCure season where the bad guys are themed after the sea, the sky, and the land. This does not have to be their core personality. It doesn't have to be like Kyogre and Groudon and Rayquaza or whatever in humanish forms, but I want that to be part of their aesthetics.
Okay, it's easy. We've got Thundurus, Landorus, and Tornadus.
Absolutely. But
cute versions of those as the fairies, maybe.
Okay. And then the secret fourth general who shows up at the mid-season could be the new Cupid one that showed up.
Sorry, you were in the middle of saying something and I had to make a funny joke.
Well, I was just asking you, how would you do a season with those three villains? You know, do you have any thoughts?
I like that as a theme for the villains. But because those are nature kind of oriented, it makes it challenging to craft a villain around.
Well,
maybe like the villains would be causing natural disasters to harness despair.
Okay. See, I was kind of thinking, like, it doesn't have to be their thing. It could kind of be, like, a motif about them. Does that make sense? Like, their real thing could be that they hate technology or something, and then the cures that face them could be all about how technology enables us to live better lives or whatever. And they just happen that one of them flies around and has a bunch of flying monkey minions or whatever the case may be, bird minions, and then one of them is like a merman or something like that and has a bunch of fish, guppy minions, and then the land person could, I don't know, be on a dirt bike or something.
He could just, like, tunnel.
Okay, yeah, he's a worm. I want the sky flying one to be a lady pirate. I want her to go around on a flying ship. I don't know if the ship would be like a real ship that's big enough to house all of her minions, or if maybe she has like some kind of like flying skateboard that just happens to in the shape of a boat, but it's like really small. Like she's big enough that she can like step on it, and that's her whole thing.
I love that. That would be so fun.
So flying can kind of be associated with like freedom. That's a pretty common thing. What character trait might you give like a wet person, an ocean person, a swimming person?
They'd go with the flow.
Oh, they'd be very laid back, and they would just kind of like go with other people's plans. They wouldn't have their own ideas.
Yeah, I mean, you know, the tides go in, the tides come out. You can't explain that. So why bother trying to explain it?
Will
just
people
enjoy.
listening to this podcast even get that reference? That was so many years ago.
I don't know who listens to this podcast.
That's true.
Other than occasionally our good friends on our friends on the Discord seem to listen every week. But we've got 2 people on the Discord. We've got Grandpa. and sometimes Sherpa Whale on Twitter, who is a friend of mine in real life. I think she will get the reference.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
But broadly, I don't know what that says about the demographics of our listenership.
Okay, yeah, that's right. They need to be old enough to appreciate memes and old enough to have heard that, but also young enough to not dismiss memes, if that makes sense.
No, I get you. Does he even still have a show?
I have no idea. I don't even remember which one it is specifically. It wasn't the guy who died a couple of years ago, was it?
They drained his blood and gave it all to Tucker Carlson.
Okay, we are done. We are done talking about this. Okay, so we have a goes with the flow water person. We have a kind of free pirate kind of flying lady. So ground a lot of people associate with like the earth element, but like it could also be volcano. So this could be our resident angry boy, because every season has one who's like the warrior, like big muscular, maybe not the smartest kind of a person.
Yes. He's our Kumo Jackie.
Yeah. The Kumo Jackie, or he's kind of like the weird pirate guy, Uraganos, I think his name is, from Max Heart. And
gosh, we'll get into it when we talk about Max Heart, but I do not understand what Uraganos' deal is.
Yeah, no, I agree. I completely agree. Also, really quickly, sometimes they introduce a secret general later on in the season. PreCure did that really well, I think. But I think the fourth one could very easily be space themed.
I love that. What would be the thing they serve?
See, I don't think
it just be entropy.
I don't think it matters. You know, like the theme in Star Twinkle is that the bad guys are a Kappa, a Cyclops, and a Tengu, and then they also once the guy shows up, he's, I guess, kind of like an ogre or something. But that's not really related to the space theme. I guess it relates to like the outer worlds, you know, creativity kind of a thing. But I don't think that they necessarily need to be environmental, is what I was trying to get at earlier. So like the bad guy could be like you could just be after jewels, man. You could have like happiness jewels or something, and people take them, and the flying lady like swoops in to take them, and the lava guy like punches people to take them or something like that. The astronomer or astrology character could have like a telescope and like spies them from afar and does like long distance attacks. And then the water person could be a little like sneaky or whatever, kind of like swims under the radar.
Ooh, swims under the radar. I love it. So, here's a discussion topic for you.
Mm-hmm.
Is Barney the dinosaur a magical girl? Him himself?
No, there's no transformation involved.
He transforms. He transforms from a stuffed animal into a giant magical talking dinosaur.
So he's a movie exclusive fairy cure.
Oh, you're right. Yes. Okay. That was a short discussion question. No.
Oh my gosh.
We can do a longer one if you want.
I think we should do a little bit of a longer one. You know what we've been watching lately. We just watched the season finale for, even though I think it came out some time ago. We've been watching Spy X Family. So in that vein, can you think of a funny way to do PreCure and spies? Wait, have we already asked this one?
We've done this one. We did a spy versus spy thing.
Okay, but this time we can focus more on the comedy. We could have them with a bunch of mismatched powers.
Yes. You know what? I think that in this season of PreCure that we're pitching right here, the main cures would be two PreCure from opposite countries.
Okay.
Kind of like how in Spy versus Family, you've got the East Alice versus West Alice.
Okay.
And they would constantly be doing things to try to mess with each other's plans, but then also they would be fighting the bad guys when they show up.
Okay, we got yet another Lupin Ranger versus Pato Ranger kind of situation going on here.
Yes, each one of them thinks that the other country is responsible for the monsters.
Oh, okay. I like that. See, with Spy Family, and this is all stuff in the very first episode, so I don't consider it spoilers, but you have Anya, who is an orphan who gets adopted by the main character, and she has mind-reading abilities, and the main male character is secretly a spy trying to save the world, and the female main adult character who is in a fake relationship with him and pretending to be his wife, she is an assassin. So I think that with the cures, maybe the fairy could read minds. But I don't know. See, in Anya's case, she can't share secrets because she doesn't want the family to break up. So maybe the fairy is aware. That's it. There's two girls who are best friends in their civilian forms, but in their PreCure forms, they for some reason don't get along, or vice versa. There's a duality here, and the fairy's aware, but the fairy can't tell them because that would cause conflict.
So what you're proposing here is just Miraculous Ladybug.
Oh yeah, a little bit of Miraculous Ladybug mix in there, absolutely.
Yeah, are they French petite fromage?
I thought you were going to say frenemies, and I was like, no, they're frovers. Oh wait, no, that would be friends and lovers, so I guess it would be more like enavers. Love-emies? I don't know.
Oh, man.
This has gone terribly wrong.